Hey everybody, this episode is a rebroadcast of one of my favorite interviews I've conducted so far on the show. I'll be mixing these best of episodes in with brand new interviews over the next few months. I encourage you to check them out if you're new to the show. And if you've been a long-time listener, side note, thank you, I encourage you to listen again, as you might just catch some insight you didn't before. Enjoy. Hi, I'm Sean. I've always been curious about the answers to life's big questions. I thought it would be cool to seek some of those answers through conversations with others on a similar path. My intention with these conversations is to inspire you to think bigger, to challenge what you believe to be possible. I'd like to invite you to think outside the lines. Hey, it's Sean, and I want to welcome you to the Think Outside the Lines podcast. My mission is to bring you insightful conversations with thought leaders who are doing their part to make the world a better place. Now, if you haven't yet, be sure to head over to thinkoutsidelines.com, where you can learn more about me, about the podcast, and while you're there, be sure to check out our all-new virtual coaching services. And if you aren't already, please give us a follow on Instagram. You can find us at Think Outside the Lines. And lastly, I'd love if you would head over to Apple Podcasts and leave a review for the show. I've got some amazing guests coming up, and the best way for new listeners to discover the show is for Apple to promote it. And they do this when a show receives great reviews in addition to streams and downloads. My guest today is the founder and host of EOFire, a top-ranked daily podcast featuring interviews with today's most inspiring and successful entrepreneurs. John and EOFire have been featured in Forbes, Time, and Inc. magazine. He's been a huge inspiration to me throughout my podcasting journey. And if you're meeting him for the first time, I'm confident that you'll find his journey inspiring. It's time to think outside the lines with John Lee Dumas. You've helped so many of us aspiring entrepreneurs, exposing us to conversations with other influencers that we wouldn't normally have access to. So thank you for that. I also want to say, I know it's really hard to produce a show that airs once a week. So I can only imagine how you do it every single day. I'd love if you could start off by telling us a bit about your background and what you believe to be the message that you were brought here to share with the world.
Well, my background in brief started in the state of Maine, where I spent the first 18 years of my life. Went to college on an Army or ROTC scholarship and graduated at 22 and in 2002 at 22, and spent the next 8 years in the Army, 4 active, 4 in the reserves, with a little 13-month stint in Iraq. Then I tried a lot of different things over the next 6 years of my life post-military. Corporate finance, law school, real estate, and none of it fulfilled me. I just wasn't successful and I wasn't happy for 6 years doing those things. Fortunately, I had my aha moment at the age of 32 back in 2012 to do a daily podcast interviewing successful entrepreneurs. I haven't missed a day since, and here we are at over episode 1350 by the time this will go live, and consistently generating over 1 million listens per month. So it's a podcast that's inspiring many. And if I could say, my one message I'm looking to share with the world is hope. That people have hope. That they don't have to just continue in the same current that they are in life, but they can get out and make their own way. Awesome.
That's definitely my mission too. Now, being an entrepreneur yourself, you're also an advocate for designing a life of freedom, which you touched upon briefly. I started this podcast because I wanted to challenge the idea of living the status quo. So I want to ask you, how can those of us with that mindset work to convince the world that you don't have to conform to what you've been fed your whole life?
I don't know if we have to convince the world. That's not really something that I'm looking to do, because sadly, I know that most of the world is going to be convinced of exactly what they want to be convinced of. And, so be it. Who I'm trying to convince are aspiring entrepreneurs, small business owners, solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, side hustlers right now, that there is an opportunity outside of the normal flow of things. And that, 99% of people are going to be born and die within that kind of parameters. We don't all have to if we don't want to. And I'm definitely living proof of that. There's plenty of other people who are living proof that you can get out there, find something that you're inspired by, say, how can I niche down till it hurts, serve a couple people in such a powerful and meaningful way, but that they can't help but tell others, grow a powerful small tribe that way. Ask that tribe, how can we serve you? And how can I serve you by just like asking you this question? What are you currently struggling with? Listening to those problems, providing the solution and then offering it to them in the form of a product, service, and a community. That is a great path that, again, many people have been able to take, but the percentages are still very low. And I just want anybody who desires a life like that life of freedom and of passion, to know that it's out there. But it's not easy. It's tough. And it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Amen to all of that. What do you think holds most people back from achieving their goals?
The imposter syndrome. And the reality is this: you're a human being if you're listening to my voice. So you have the imposter syndrome. It's just a reality. There's a reason why human beings have survived all of these millennia. Like, we didn't go outside of the cave at 2 a.m. at night when we heard a growl, because the imposter syndrome was telling us there's probably a saber-toothed tiger out there. So guess what? We survived. Well, now, we don't have the saber-toothed tiger around the corner, but we do have people who are saying, who are you to do this? Who are you to do that? And we have voices in our head that say the same thing, that warn us, to try to keep us down, not because, they're trying to ruin us, but because they're trying to protect us. But the reality of the world is different these days than it was way back then. And we live in a pretty protected world where we can get out there, swing the bat and miss, and still survive to fight another day. So the imposter syndrome just means you're a human being. Realize that everybody has those voices, all the way from the person you respect most in this world that seems like they have it all together. They still deal with the imposter syndrome every single day. Just understand that. And it's those people that can actually embrace it and rise above. Those are the ones that find their true success.
I love that. So I'm hearing embrace it and rise above. Do you have any other tips for someone that, because to your point, we do all experience that from time to time. How do you personally work through that?
I embrace it and I rise above. But the reality is this, that, not everybody can just see and feel and hear the imposter syndrome and say, oh my God, I'm going to go give it a big hug right now. Or what I would just say is this, is identify it as such and say, hey, I'm just going to wake up tomorrow morning and I'm going to do the same thing again, and realize I'm probably going to have the same results. And I'm going to do it again and again. For me, that happened every single day for hundreds and hundreds of days. I woke up, I looked at my schedule, saw that I was interviewing somebody that I really admired. I was freaked the F out. I got all types of nervous and stressed out, but then I recorded the interview. I got through it and I got a little bit better. And I got a little bit better at embracing that fear that was showing up there every single day. But it took time, it took energy, it took effort. And, again, I still on some levels have that when I'm interviewing people today, almost 1,400 episodes later.
That's a good point. I think that it doesn't sound like it's something you ever really overcome per se. You just, to your point, you push through it and you work through it each time. What are some tools and tricks that you use to stay inspired or motivated in your life?
I consume content from other people. A lot of people become quote unquote producers and they stop consuming. And I think that's a huge mistake. There are so many people out there in this world that are continuously producing great, inspiring, motivating, cutting edge content. And I want to stay on the cutting edge too. And I want to remain inspired as well. So every single day, a certain portion of my days are spent consuming content, reading a book, checking out somebody on Snapchat, watching a YouTube video, whatever it might be. I'm consuming inspiring content daily to keep me sharp, to keep me honed, to keep me on the cutting edge, and not just in that producer's mindset. I think so many people just go from one end of the spectrum, consuming 100%, to saying, okay, I've been consuming forever now it's time to produce. And then they just start producing. There has to be a balance there. My balance is like 90-10. Yours, when you start producing, should probably be like 50-50, and then it goes up from there. You got to figure it out, but you always have to be consuming.
I love it. Never stop learning. Many people out there who are tackling a new endeavor may feel stuck in their progress, or they don't really know where to begin. And I know that they often hear things like just start or just take action. But if you don't know what that action is, that advice isn't really helpful. So what is a tangible piece of advice that you would give someone who wants to get started but doesn't quite know where or how?
I think a great exercise is the avatar exercise, where you actually sit down and you just write 500, 1,000, 2,000 words on the exact person that you want to serve, the exact listener for your podcast that you want to press play, or reader for your blog, or viewer of your video. What specifically does that person look like? Like how many kids do they have? How old are they? Where do they live? What are their fears or hopes or aspirations? Like, what do they want out of life? Make that person real. My avatar is Jimmy. I could go on about Jimmy for about 45 minutes here. I know him so well. But the reality is, if you sit down and craft your avatar, then you can start having conversations with your avatar because you created him or her. You know that person. Now have conversations with them and see what they're struggling with. And that can really start you down the path to creating targeted, meaningful, intentional content.
Awesome answers. What's a piece of business advice that's helped you the most?
If you want to be, do.
Wow, it's powerful.
I never interviewed anybody before, but I wanted to be a podcaster. So what did I have to do? I had to podcast. If you want to be a writer, you have to write. If you want to be a video person, you have to create videos. I mean, that's just the reality. And so few people realize that. They just do all of the other things except that thing. I was willing to be a bad podcaster for a significant amount of time doing that thing. So whatever it is that you want to be, do.
Totally. I love it. Because I think what I'm hearing in that too is you have to be willing to suck sometimes, especially in the beginning. And I think that so many people are scared to suck that they just remain paralyzed in fear, right?
I mean, my question is like, why do people expect that they're not going to suck? I mean, how are you going to be good at something you've never done before? How are you ever going to be super skilled at a task that you've never even picked up before? I mean, do you think that Michael Jordan was a great free throw shooter when he took his first shot? Of course not. He was horrible. He probably didn't even hit the rim. Do you think Tiger Woods was an amazing golfer the first time he swung a golf club? Of course not. He was horrible. Like, why do we think we're supposed to be good? Or when do we get to this point and as a human that, you know, we're afraid of sucking? It's part of the absolute necessity of any skill that we're going to acquire.
Well, I think a lot of it comes back to the imposter syndrome, right? I mean, that's why, because we feel like we're not going to be successful, or people are going to think, what the hell are you doing this for, you know?
Endless cycle.
Totally. What was it about podcasting in particular that drew you in, that made you think like that's the avenue that I want to take?
Because I was a consumer of podcasts for a long period of time. For years, I was listening to podcasts. I was loving the on-demand, targeted, free content that was being produced. But I saw a massive need that wasn't being fulfilled in the marketplace. And I knew that I wasn't the best person to fulfill that need, but I looked around and I was the only person willing to. So I stepped up and I started a podcast every single day, interviewing inspiring and successful entrepreneurs. And I wasn't good at the beginning. And my interviews weren't great at the beginning, but they got me going to a place of where I am today, where they are listenable. And that just is the process. And so that is the step that I had to take. And again, it started off by being a consumer.
Awesome. You get to go back in time and tell your 18-year-old self one thing. What is it?
Chill the F out, JLD. Like, why are you taking life so seriously? You're 18 years old, you're 30 years old, you're 35 years old. Like, fill in the blank. Everybody, chill out. Like, we think that life has, you know, like, however old we are, we think that we're so old. And we look back and I'm like, oh, when I was 16 and, you know, I didn't have a care in the world. But when you're 16, you're like, oh my God, when I was 14. Like, we always look backwards. Like, it's just a reality. Chill out. Enjoy the moments and just do what you can every single day to work a little harder, to get a little better at something that inspires you on your path, wherever that path might be. And if you find yourself getting off of that path, time to restructure and to refocus, to pivot and to move forward in a different way.
Totally agree with that. I think that advice is actually applicable at any age. I guess my follow-up question would be, how do you convince yourself of that? Because I think we all heard that at 18, but it's like, how do you actually like...
I don't know. I never heard that at 18. Everybody at 18 was like, oh my God, you're going to college now. You better start taking things seriously. Or, oh my God, you just graduated college. You're 22. You better take life seriously. Like, oh my God, John, you're 30. This is when life really starts. You better be serious. And I was like, okay. But it's like, no, like chill out. Like just take your time, relax, know that life is long. And I guess that's what I would try to kind of share is that like life is long. There's a lot of ups and a lot of downs. And that's the important thing you have to realize, the length of life. And it's just, you know, live in the moment, live in the present and know that, hey, whatever happens, I can recover from, I can shift, I can pivot, I can make this happen.
And it's a learning opportunity, right?
Sure.
What is your definition of success and have you achieved it?
My definition of success is the ability to wake up in the morning, look at my calendar and say, that's my calendar, meaning everything that's on that calendar is something that I chose to put on that calendar. So I hope that makes you feel good, Sean, because I chose to put this on my calendar.
Thank you.
But the reality is I spent most of my life, like a lot of us do, not being in charge of my own calendar, having to be here at a certain time, having to have these deadlines and this and that. And, for some people, they want that structure and they need that structure. And that's where I'm going back to not everybody should or can or wants to be an entrepreneur or wants to be inspired. Like, I'm not trying to change the world. I'm just trying to provide great information for people that want to hear it. And so, for me, the definition of success is being able to wake up in the morning and saying, my day today is consisting of tasks that I want to work on, that inspire me, that I'm passionate by. And it's not always going to be fun. And it's not always going to be amazing. And like, there's not always going to be like rainbows coming out of every orifice. But guess what? I'm going to enjoy the overall day because I've chosen what I want that day to consist of.
Yes, I love it. What do you hope the world looks like 5 years from now?
I hope there's more hope in the world. I think that's a really important word that a lot of people don't really think about enough, because if you take hope away from humans, like, we're not left with much. But as long as we have hope, no matter how much of a sliver it is, we can really get through anything. And you look back at some, books from the Holocaust, et cetera, and like sometimes all people had was that one sliver of hope, and that's all they needed to keep going. And the people that lost hope, I mean, they were gone the next day. So I think hope is huge. I think that needs to become more of a prevalent realization in our world. And hope 5 years from now, a lot of people just have more hope.
I love that a lot. I feel like there's so many people out there today that are cynical and have lost that hope. So do you have any advice or tips for getting that back?
I mean, when you're cynical, you're kind of going down a bad road. You're already kind of like this self-fulfilling prophecy. And probably anything that I say, you're just going to twist in whatever way, shape, and form you want to go back to your cynical ways. So it's tough. I would just say, listen, you got to go back to some of the better autobiographies of this world, like the Benjamin Franklins, the Albert Einsteins, and just read what successful people did, way back in the day, and just realize, man, life really wasn't that different back then. Like, I can take these core principles, and that's kind of one reason why the book Think and Grow Rich is so key, because it is back in the 30s, but the same principles still apply today. Yeah. And just say, like, is this the life that I want to lead? Is a cynical life? And if the answer is yes, then you're going to keep leading it. But if you actually want to get out of the vicious cycle that you find yourself in, it's going to start with you. You got to figure out how. For sure. You wake up tomorrow with $10 million in your bank account, but you have to give it all away to one charity or cause that you believe in. Where will it go? Pencils of Promise, which is actually a charity that I donate heavily to already, because I'm a big believer of them. I love the idea of education because, again, I believe education gives hope. We can give people food, and I love that charities do that, and give people clean drinking water, and I love that charities do that, and all of these things. And that's amazing. That's serving an immediate need, and that's super important, and I'm not downplaying any of that. But the realization for me that we can give somebody the gift of education, and that's not just going to change their immediate need, but that could have this ripple effect for them for the rest of their lives, for their all of their offspring generations, because now they can educate their kids, and their kids are now educated. They can educate their kids, and so on and so forth. And especially in this world that we live in, where I literally moved to the most remote part of Puerto Rico, where I'm living right now, and my business didn't change at all because of the internet. It's amazing. So there could be a town that nobody's ever heard of in Africa, where there's a guy that is just creating an amazing blog of poems he's now able to publish to the world and make a living off of that, maybe a couple $100 a month, which to him is everything because of where he lives. And that's because education changed everything for him. So I love Pencils of Promise for that reason. I'm a big fan of Pencils of Promise. For someone listening that may not be aware of what they do, can you maybe give a brief overview? Yeah, sure. So I interviewed the founder, Adam Braun, a few times on EOFire, and he was just traveling in third world countries back in the day, like 2011, 2012 timeframe. And he found this one child, and he knelt down. And he said, "Hey, like, what do you want? If there's one thing that I could give you right now, what would it be?" And the kid just looked at him again as like a 6 or 7 year old and said, "A pencil. Like, I just want to be able to draw, to like write my name, to learn." Like, this kid just wanted the ability and the opportunity to learn. And so he went off on a mission, and Pencils of Promise now builds soup to nuts in a school for $25,000 in a developing country. So you donate $25,000 and you are literally building an entire school in a developing country that will be there for generations to come. And what's great about the charity is that they have an anonymous donor who pays for all of the administrative stuff. So every single penny that you're donating is going to building that school. And that's a great feeling for a lot of people to have and to do. And when we ran the Freedom Journal campaign back in January, and we did $453,000 in 33 days, we built 3 schools through Pencils of Promise through that campaign. So that was something that was really kind of inspiring, just beyond the overall success of the Freedom Journal.
Love that so much. I'm such a big fan of what they do. If you're interested, I'll definitely put the links to all this in the show notes so you can check it out. John, tell me what you hope will be your legacy.
I want my legacy to be a ripple effect. Now, what that really means is, like, when I've been able to inspire somebody, I love that I've inspired them to do something. But what I really love is when they come back to me and say, John, like, you inspired me to do X. I did that. And now look at this person that emailed me because they were inspired by X. And now they're off doing things. And that ripple effect, goes off to the world. And I think about legacy, and I think some people that matters a lot too, like the Gary Vaynerchuks of the world. For me, I actually kind of am leaning more towards that quote where I don't want people to ever ask, why was there a statue built of this person? I'd rather have people ask, why was there not? And that to me is just more powerful of a legacy to leave, is to impact the people you've impacted, to have them go off and do their ripple effects with the world. And maybe you're remembered for it, maybe you aren't, but the reality is you've left some greatness in this world.
Well, I absolutely count you among those that have inspired me. And
thanks, Sean.
Here I am doing this podcast now, carrying on part of your legacy. And
you really are. And you're inspiring people that I would never have reached. And I think that is exactly what I'm talking about. And again, people that you're now inspiring, Sean, are going to go off and do that. And that ripple effect continues.
Totally. Love it. All right. Tell us where we can connect with you on the web. And I want to give you a brief moment to give us a pitch for your services that you offer and how you can help someone listening today.
Well, all the magic for us happens at EOFire.com. That's where we have all of our free courses and resources. We have a free course on podcasting and webinars. It's all there. It's a great little site that we have waiting for you. And if I would just say, I'd circle back to the Freedom Journal. I spent a year creating the solution that I saw most of my listeners have. And that's that they didn't know how to set and accomplish a meaningful goal. So the Freedom Journal will guide you in setting and accomplishing your number one goal in 100 days. And you can find out more at thefreedomjournal.com and know that a portion of every sale is going to Pencils of Promise.
Love it. John, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so grateful and just really appreciative of your time and everything you're out there doing in the world.
Thanks, Sean.
All right. I'd like to thank you so much for listening today. Now, if you're enjoying the show, please subscribe and leave a review on Apple Podcasts, as it's the best way to discover new episodes of the show. And please be sure to share this episode with anyone you think could benefit from hearing it. Now, you can find the links for everything we talk about in the show notes, in addition to coaching services and so much more. Just head over to thinkoutsidelines.com. And feel free to drop me a line with any questions or feedback you have on the show. You can send an email anytime to hello@thinkoutsidelines.com. Until next time, go out there and pursue your passion today, because the best way to predict the future is to create it. For more information, please visit thinkoutsidelines.com.